Welcome back to the Unfortunate Diehards podcast. We are on episode 9, hashtag Milan McCulloch. So we'd like to welcome back all our listeners. We are recording in a different setup. So I am away in the foreign lands of Belleville, and my two counterparts are in the podcast setup. So say hello, lads.
Hey guys,
Hello.
a little bit of a unorthodox setup today. Well, not really unorthodox, but
Beard is bad. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Very unorthodox. But this is exciting.
We feel weird without the white guy in between us.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got focus.
Yeah.
So today we're going to go over how some of our teams have started out. So if you'll go over all 17 of his favorite teams, some of the big events that have happened in the league, teams off to hot and cold starts that we didn't expect, and then we'll end it off with a head-to-head.
Okay.
So we'll start off with our own teams. So Sufi, you'll start off with how you think the Washington Capitals have started out. Is it what you expected, better or worse, and what players have stood out or been worse?
What has happened? Well, honestly, it's gone pretty much as I expected. We're a little less chaotic than last year, but still kind of chaotic. First game was horrible against Boston. I don't really want to talk about that. We played bad top to bottom. Toronto game was much better. Horrible start. Charlie Lindgren played great until he scored on himself, which I was watching with him. It was not great.
It was great.
The Montreal game was good. We dominated that game from the start to the end, and that was amazing. And then the Vancouver game probably should have been a lot easier, but we just had to let Vancouver get up to their lead, and then I knew we were going to win from there, because that's what Vancouver's done all season, and Ovechkin broke out that game as well, so I was very excited about that. But Kemper needs to get into form. Kuznetsov needs to stop slashing people in the face for no reason, which I'm actually happy he got suspended for that, so he can stop being dumb now, because he still got us 3 points in that game after he did that. But and then someone that's impressed me is Eric Gustafsson. Did not expect him to impress me at all. I wanted him to not play at all, actually, because we had a bunch of younger players that could play better in my head at the time. But he moves really well. He's not great defensively, but he isn't horrendous from what I can tell. But he skates really well. He makes a lot of moves at the blue line, which I didn't expect. I didn't really know what to expect from him. But and then on one of the goals, and I think the Montreal game, he had the slap pass to Ovechkin on a goal which got disallowed, but it was really nice. And then the usual players that I have stopped loving have also not been great, and I would love for younger players to get an opportunity, but like Lars Eller and Johansson have kind of just been as meh as possible. And I'd love for McMichael to get in inside of one of those two, but now he's going to play anyway because Connor Brown's injured. But yeah, anyways, that's all.
Omar.
Well, the Leafs are in perfect mid-season form, losing to Arizona and Montreal. It's can't ask for a better start than that. 2-2. I'm not gonna say I didn't expect to start like this. They always start off a bit rocky. A little bit concerned in the first 2 games. Actually, you know what? I'll say a little bit concerned in the first 3 games of the Matthews, Marner, Bunting line. I didn't like the way they were playing it all through 3 games, but obviously I didn't read into that because that's the first 3 games. Everyone knows that's not going to last. And then game 4 against Arizona, they had a horrible 2 periods, and third period they decided they remember how to play hockey, so they were back on it. But yeah, I'm hoping that just leads to a bit more confidence anyway, that third period against Arizona. Not that it should, because he just lost to Arizona in that third period. Yeah, I mean, generally it's 2-4 games. It's what it is right now. I think we'll know more when we see more, but I don't think this really shows us about anyone's actual potential or where they're going to end up or how they're going to be in the season. I think it's too early to tell anything.
I do have one player I forgot to talk about, by the way, but I don't know if I should do that before Evan talks or after.
Go ahead.
Okay. Someone who I thought was going to impress me and has impressed me more than I thought he would is Dylan Strome. He's on like this revenge mission against Chicago, which he said at the start of the season, and it's showing. I think he has 4 points in 4 games or 5 points in 4 games, but he's looked amazing on the power play. The lines have been mixed up a lot because of injuries and inconsistent play and stuff like that, but he's definitely been like one of the better players on each line that he's been on. And he played really well with both Ovechkin and then the second line with Mantha and Oshie as well. So I'm excited for him. I think if he can finish with like 60 to 70 points, then we're looking at a really good Backstrom fill-in. Like
60 to 70?
Yeah. 60 to 70? What?
For Dylan Strome?
Yeah, he had 49 on Chicago last year.
Bro.
Yeah.
In 57 games or something?
Who was he playing with?
Not on the first power play.
60 to 70 is like...
That's just second line points. Like, I don't know if that's that big of a deal.
I would be shocked if he got 60 to 70.
I would be shocked if he does it the way he's playing right now. And he's playing...
Everyone has hot streaks.
Yeah, but I mean, not like... He hasn't really gotten this opportunity before, and he's playing with, like, mostly Ovechkin, and he's on the first power play. And the power play's kind of been going through him, too, because he's kind of been on the half wall rather than Kuznetsov. And they even took Kuznetsov with the first power play, and it was running through him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had 60, 70 though, at all. I mean, he was on pace for that last year, so I don't know if that's that surprising.
Well, sure. I had a few questions for you guys. So, Sufi, with a couple injury suspensions and stuff, do you feel as if that these things may set you back? Or do you think that being an older team, you may have more injury issues than other teams?
I think last year is pretty much an indication of what our team does with younger players in our lineup, considering that last year, every single old player in our lineup besides Ovechkin got hurt in the first half of the season. And we had a much better record in the first half of the season than the second half of the season. And then we put all the old players back in, and we were a little bit worse. So honestly, not all that concerned. Like, I'd love to see Snively and McMichael and the younger guys get more chances, and it looks like it's taking injuries to get them. So we still end up with 100 points last year with way worse injuries than we've had right now. So, yeah.
And Omar, you were talking about how you're kind of used to the Leafs starting off rocky. That's a very common thing for them to do. Would you not like to see a different start? Like, it seems like every year it starts off the same, then they have that slump around like January, and then they pick it up near the end of the season, and then they lose in the first round. It seems like regardless of who's on the team, it's like a constant kind of cycle.
Yeah, but I don't know. With them, it's never. They used to start always really well and then fall off in January and then never recover and miss the playoffs back, 2012, 13, 14, 15, In the Matthews era, they've had a couple of, I don't know, that last year they had a horrible start. They were like 1-5 to start the season. But then they killed it after that. They were ridiculous for the rest of the season. So I don't read these starts too much. I feel like it's just they're gonna start off rocky. The passes aren't gonna hit crisply. The lines aren't gonna gel like insanely well. They're gonna build up their chemistry again a little bit, and they're gonna all be fine. I'm not worried about the Leafs in terms of regular season. So it's like they're gonna pick it up and do their thing like they did last year.
Do you think that, like, I was watching that Arizona game, and until the third, they literally could not string a couple passes together. Like, I think that was them not taking Arizona seriously, or do you literally think that they just really need to gel again? Like, I understand that it's the start to the season, but it seems like, is this carousel of a rotating guy in the top six, the bottom six changes drastically every year. Do you think that is affecting them and they need some sort of structure throughout the lineup to kind of carry over more?
Well, the reason I don't read into the Arizona game is because the Leafs haven't beat Arizona in Toronto since 2002.
Actually, it's they haven't won in regulation.
Well, they haven't won in regulation. It was some stat like that. Yeah. One of the, well, yeah. So they had, I mean, with Arizona, it always goes like that. They usually win the game in Arizona and they usually lose the game in Toronto. And this is how it seems to go, where it's like 2 periods go by and you're like, hey, it's Arizona. It should be a pretty nice game for the Leafs. And they had 13 shots after 2 periods. And I was like, what are you doing? But so you asked about structure throughout their lineup. Here's the thing. With their salary cap situation, the only structure they can have is within their top six. That's the only structure that's staying the same. Their bottom six is a constant carousel of just every year it's going to be wiped out and something new is going to be there. And that's not, I don't think that needs to be, I don't think it should be that, like, Chicago did it and they won 3 cups doing it. So I don't see why the Leafs can't pull it together. Their bottom six is always decent enough where in the regular season they do well. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the issue exactly is with their starts, but it's just always like that.
All right, and Evan, what do you think of your team?
What do you
Well, um, so I think I haven't gotten to actually watch all 3 games yet, unfortunately, because I've been working. But I've watched extended highlights. I watched the game against Boston. So I know through the first 2 games, Ottawa had the highest, or what would you call it, the biggest gap between expected goals for and goals scored. They were getting chances, they just weren't finishing them, which is a good sign because eventually that's supposed to change if you're producing so many high danger chances. Um, I think that the Boston game was the exact opposite of those first 2 games. It was incredibly high scoring on both ends. Where the first couple games it was lower scoring games in total, but the Sens also just weren't putting up offensive numbers. Um, but that game, it was like an incredible home game. Like it was 106% capacity. There was standing people watching. Um, like everyone in the top 6 had points. Other than letting in 5 goals, even though we still won by 2, it's still. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. Go.
Why are you laughing at me?
I thought we're not
What was
laughing
it?
at
It was
you.
it? You was that be? Just keep going. It's a good thing that you'll see everything.
But it was really great seeing those like top 6 get into it, and like Alex DeBrincat looks phenomenal. Even though we didn't have like a bunch of points last night, he just is flying out there. The guys you wanted to take steps, a lot of them have. Like Jake Sanderson looks really good. I think Artem Zub, like he scored last night, he's still so solid. Eric Brandstrom's playing with a ton of confidence. So like people that just stood out for me, I knew Batherson was going to be good. But like, so Eric Brandstrom has impressed me. He's skating with such confidence. He's avoiding hits better. He likes keeping the puck on his stick more than just getting rid of it, and he's better with the puck on his stick than without it. Jake Sanderson's been the most, maybe not the most, but like very, very steady, effortless skater, and he's just good at like an all-round game. And then Shane Pinto doesn't miss from the right circle. It's flipping ridiculous. Like this man is the perfect bumper right now. It's wild. Like through preseason, through exhibition games, like before that, like against Buffalo's prospects, whatever, and this, he just like does not miss. So yeah, like overall, I've been pretty impressed with the team. What I would have liked to see more of from people. I think I love Austin Watson. I think that he's definitely like even lost a bit of a step from last year. I think it's good having that like big toughness on your team. But I think like Mark Kastelik brings that. and Kachuk and other people. So I would like to see him maybe not always, but like swapped out for whether it's Brassard or a younger guy gets a chance at some point from the AHL. But yeah, overall, like not too disappointed. Like 1 and 2, like obviously it's 3 games, but you're seeing a lot of the things that you'd like to see. Uh, and yeah, you guys have any questions you can ask? But Omar, you didn't say anyone that's stood out or disappointed or anything to you as well. So I'd say for me, disappointed. Yeah, maybe like Austin Watson, but yeah, not too bad so far.
Well, disappointed for me was I guess not one specific player, but I haven't liked the Matthews Bunting Marner line so far. Um, but I mean, disappointing is like I would have liked them to have a more hot of a start. Like I mean, they don't look they in the through the first 3 games just didn't look like they did last year, like dominating the play and stuff. Like throughout, it didn't look like that. But that'll come. It's not something I'm worried about. It's gonna happen. So that would be my like disappointment, I guess, for now. The player that I'm happy about right now, and I thought I was not gonna be happy about him at all this season, but I'm really happy about him right now is John Tavares. Oh yeah, he's actually good. Like this first game, I loved him. He had a great second game against Ottawa. He played well. He did well. Had a
He was
great
the
game.
only reason they were back in it against Arizona too.
You would tell you exactly, and he had a great game against Washington too. He's been playing he's been playing great. Like I can't, no complaints about Tavares right now. I was thinking after like I wasn't that happy with him in the playoffs. Even though he did put up a few points, he scored some big goals actually. But like this year it was starting, and I was like, oh man, I don't know about Tavares, and like I'm really happy with him right now. So I'm gonna say him.
I'm just looking at like advanced stats, and there's some eye-opening stuffs. Like from these are updated today, so that they would take account yesterday's games. The goal scored above expected thing for Ottawa has kind of corrected itself after yesterday because they scored like half their season's goals yesterday.
More
Uh,
than half, 3 goals before yesterday, and they have 10
yeah.
goals.
Because now they're plus 0.8 above expected. New Jersey needs a goalie. Holy crap! Like so in expected goals for percentage, they're 69.1%, which is first in the league. Expected goals for is 4, which is second in the league.
Yeah.
Expected goals against, take this in. Expected goals against is 1.81, which is second, but their goals saved above expected is 27th, which is negative 4.1. And their goal differential above expected is 8.2, which is second last as well. Meaning that they're playing amazing offensively, they're playing amazing defensively, and they literally have no excuse for bad goaltending. So Vitek Vanacek and Blackwood need to figure it out. Because that is like, that's by far the biggest differential of any team. Also, the Leafs are having some bad luck scoring as well, which I guess is fair. Caps are just middle in everything because we've had 2 very good games and 2 very bad games. So it kind of just makes sense.
Well, off of what you had said, Omar, I forgot to mention this. I feel like Stützle, DeBrincat, Giroux was like a great idea. Like it's nice to think about, but I don't think, and from watching preseason games and everything, that's a great match. I think Giroux and DeBrincat are phenomenal together. Giroux is great in corners. DeBrincat just finds like it creates plays, kind of how Sufi said, like he play drives, and then Giroux just finds like little seams to set up people, which is great. Stutzel also really likes having the puck on his stick and sometimes carries it too much. So having him with Kachuk benefits him. And I think Batherson kind of can mold himself into whatever kind of needs to be. So Norris has moved down with them right now. And I think he's been playing a bit better with them. Not necessarily better like he wasn't as good on the top line, but I could even see Shane Pinto moving up with them at some point. Just because I think they need a center who doesn't necessarily need the puck on their stick, and I think both of those 2 guys are shooters. So we'll see how that goes. But I hadn't been super like Stützle hadn't been so involved with them, but he's looked better with Batherson and Kachuk, and then we'll kind of see who Giroux and DeBrincat because they worked well together. Kind of chalk up with him, I guess.
I also don't think the letting Kachuk, Norris, and Batherson line was working as well as it did last year either. So I think the change needed to happen regardless somewhere. But I think the Norris Stussel thing was kind of the only obvious change they could really make because you can't really take Giroux and DeBrincat off the line with each other after what they've shown.
Yeah.
That second power play is also becoming their first power play.
Yeah. Well, maybe you end up leaving like Stutzel Batherson together, then you put Pinto with DeBrincat and Giroux, and then you have Kachuk, Norris, and then someone together. So maybe move like Joseph up somewhere. I don't know. Like I feel like we have a top 9 that you can kind of like have some juggling with pairs of 2 that work well together, and then have kind of like complementary guys in different places. So we'll see what happens over the course of the year, but it'll be interesting.
I do think Ottawa also needs to figure out forward lines that may help them out defensively a little too, rather than just focusing all on about like how well they can score. Like if they can have multiple lines that are at least somewhat safe defensively, it might help out their overall team defense a lot. Because right now, like you can have like the offensive lines that are going to score you a ton of goals, but it's hard to rely on that against like good defensive teams. So like, let's say Swayman didn't have a horrible game the other day, then they let in 5 goals and they would have lost that game as well. So I think they need to figure out lines and stuff that can help over their overall team defense if they don't plan on getting another defenseman to help out their top 6. I don't know how you do that though, but yeah.
Mackenzie Weegar, even though he's just extended.
That dream is dead.
I wanted it so bad.
And I knew it wasn't good enough.
I mean, we can't also read too much into the Sens game last night.
But it's literally exactly what I said would happen at the start of the season.
Yeah, but it's Boston off a backup goalie. They had a horrible start. They just weren't even playing.
Wait, who's the backup goalie?
Swayman.
Swayman isn't a backup goalie though.
Swayman. His name is Swayman, right?
Yeah, but Swayman and Allmark are both
okay. They're
1As.
1Bs.
They're both 1As,
1A,
bro.
whatever.
They were literally the best goalie.
It still wasn't Allmark.
They were the best goalie tandem in the league last year, and Swayman was better than Allmark.
Was he?
Yes, they were the best. Like statistically, they were the best goalie tandem in the league last year.
Yeah, but Swayman was better than Allmark?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, back to back. The first period, Boston wasn't even playing.
I'm going to use that same excuse against why we lost against Toronto. Why are they doing so many back-to-backs at the start of the season? And then there were no
Washington both had back-to-back that.
No, I understand, but I'm saying like, why do they have like the NHL scheduling has been everything everyone's been complaining about it. They had a bunch of back-to-backs for like every single team, pretty much, and then they didn't have any games on Sunday. 0.
Yeah, they didn't know games Sunday. It was weird. I don't know why.
Give my old ass team a back-to-back to start the season.
Yeah, NHL scheduling was weird. I don't know why there were no games Sunday.
And now we wonder why Caps players got injured. I'm just saying.
But yeah, it looked weird when it looked off. Like the Sens looked off when Boston started playing again. It was weird. Boston had nothing going, and then they decided, okay, let's actually start playing. Then they score 3 goals straight, and they dominate for 8
weak goals.
Huh?
There were some weak goals though.
On both sides, there were weak goals though.
Hey, no, a lot of those ones were great.
Who?
Giroux's goal was so weak. The first goal, that was just a weak goal.
Who's Ottawa's backup now?
Hellberg, they claimed him from Seattle.
Oh, the guy with the Seattle pads.
He had insane KHL stats. Like, what the heck?
The next Igor?
Maybe. I mean, I would not complain.
And no one would complain. Let me just see what this guy's KHL stats are now. I'm curious.
But while you look that up, next thing we're going to talk about is big events that happened in any games that you saw that weren't necessarily involving your teams, or crazy games. Feel free to throw them out there. Or if any players started off hotter or colder than you thought. Shane Pinto has more goals than Austin Matthews.
Oh,
so wait,
we're just waiting for the comments of this guy has more goals than Austin Matthews, 4 games in, then Austin Matthews going to end with 70.
What was the question you asked?
If there were any you watched that players that are doing better or worse, games that you thought were entertaining, or any teams that have started slower or hotter than you thought.
I think the hot one's obvious.
The fun game as well is obvious. Yeah, last night's Ottawa Boston was fun, but also the most interesting, maybe not the most interesting, but one of the more interesting starts to the season is Jack Campbell as well.
I don't know if that's that interesting.
Jack Campbell in Edmonton.
He hasn't really looked bad. The team's looked horrible in front of him.
Yeah, but that game he got pulled against.
Were they weak goals? I didn't see any weak goals.
Well, he got pulled against two. Sorry, who was the team? Who did they play?
Vancouver.
Was it Vancouver? No. Vancouver was the game they played first.
He got pulled against Vancouver.
No. Vancouver was their season opener, was it not?
Yes, and he got pulled.
No, he didn't get pulled that game. He won that game. The season opener, he let in like 2 goals right off the bat, and I was like, oh damn, what's happening to him? Then anyway, then they recovered and they actually won the game. He was fine. He made all the saves after. He got pulled the game after that, or 2 games after that. He got pulled against someone else just a few days ago.
Oh,
Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell got pulled like what, 2 days ago, 3 days ago? Who did he get pulled against?
did he? I didn't see it.
Let's talk the Leafs fan talking about Jack Campbell, are we? Let me talk about every single goal that Matt Murray
I'm just saying
have let in.
I'm just saying it's interesting because it's an interesting start because I wouldn't say it's a perfect start, whether you blame him for the goals or not. I would say it's a bit of a rocky start for him.
I mean, he had one bad game.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
first one he made 33 saves on 36 shots and had a 9-17.
Yeah, but it was a rocky start.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Oh, bro. Matt Murray doesn't have a glove and now he's injured, and Ilya Samsonov has let every single goal that's been right at him in.
No.
Welcome to Toronto.
Well, I'm just saying. I don't know. Goalies at the start of the season are always tough too, because even the most elite goalies have rough starts, and it's hard to gauge until they're like 10 games in. Because UC Saros has also been not that good to start the season. I think his first game was good, and then he's letting like 4 goals, and 3 goals. I just know because he's on my fantasy team. But
I hate goalies.
I agree. Hard to figure out.
He's a goalie.
Oh, standout. Talking about the Devils and their extremely good expected goals for. One of the major reasons for that is Jesper Bratt. And I was heavy on that train last year, and I'm heavily more on that train this year. He's looked absolutely gross. I caught a part of a Devils game for some reason. I have absolutely no idea why, but he's looked absolutely amazing. He's just weird because he came out of nowhere pretty much 2 years ago, and he put up okay stats, and last year he broke out, and now he's turning into one of the more reliable wingers in the league. Advanced stats are off the charts now. The production as well is up there. He hasn't scored yet, but he has 5 points with all assists, and he's playing a good amount of minutes. He's really good defensively. Very big Jesper Bratt fan.
I was watching some later games, and who was it again? I'm trying to remember. Someone I had it, now I lost it. Oh no, this is not good.
For Omer.
Let's talk about New
York's first line with Alexis Lafreniere. He's looked amazing.
I actually haven't seen a single Ranger game except for a bit of their first game, so I don't know what he's looked like. What does he have?
Watch him have no points. He has 3 points in 4 games.
Yeah, whatever.
He has 8 shots, 12 shots, 14 shots in 4 games. He's doing well. I don't know what shots do for me, but he's looked a lot better than he has before, and he's playing with Panarin and whoever else is on that first line. Trocheck, yeah, look very good. And
he'll be. He's a 60-point player or whatever. Anyway,
Rome.
Yep.
Oh.
I'll take it. 3rd overall pick that got traded to us.
We need to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers.
Oh, they just lost.
Yeah, but we still need to talk about them
on a back-to-back.
Yeah,
to the worst defense in the league now.
Well, it's all good. We need to talk about Philadelphia Flyers.
We need to talk about
Bergeron,
the best coach in the league after
Maybe.
DJ Smith.
Maybe.
John, what? John.
Well, I don't even know if it's Tortorella. The team's just playing really intense.
That's Tortorella. When you say the team's playing intense, that's Tortorella.
Jordan Kyrou scored.
Oh, that's cool.
And Verhaeghe had 2. This is the best trade ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry guys, I just made a blockbuster on in my fantasy.
Blockbuster. It was a fleece. Anyways, enough about that. Tortorella essentially bashed his team the entire offseason, and now they're 3-1 to start the season and playing as hard as ever, even though on paper they're quite possibly one of the worst teams in the league. Well, they are one of the worst teams.
I mean, I mean, let's be honest. It's a hot start. I don't think it's gonna last.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah,
but it's nice to see them play hard.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's the same with like Montreal playing hard in front of St. Louis as well. Like when they're bad teams and they're just folding over, like Seattle or something, and you're very clearly going for Connor Bedard. Chicago as well, actually. That's a little disheartening, but teams like Montreal, Philly, they've at least looked like they're trying, and it's working pretty well.
We also need to talk about how weird it is to watch stream NHL games on Sportsnet that aren't played through TSN.
Yeah. There's no NHL.
I didn't know that was going to happen this year.
Yeah.
I remember who I was going to say.
Who?
I don't want to say it, but I will.
For like a hot start?
Cole Caulfield has been really flipping good. And I've been very...
It is going to last, bro. He literally did this at the end of last year. He's just turning into the player that he was supposed to be, but Ducharme tainted his talent and sent him down to the AHL for no reason. But it's him and Suzuki both, because Suzuki has ran that line like crazy, and like both of them together is it's going to be one of the better duos in the league for years to come. And like hopefully they build the team around them the way they're looking like it's going to be built, because Caden Gooley has also looked really good as well, even though he's playing like Thomas Chabot minutes and he's 20 or 21. I think he played like 25 minutes yesterday and in the game that they won against Pittsburgh, and he looked amazing. And also, to your point too, like the Sean Monahan trade is looking like an absolute fleece now. Like
it was going to be a fleece regardless when it happened.
I know, and like
but
he's even looked better than
that pass on the game-winning goal against Pittsburgh. Sick pass, man.
And Kirby Dach also looked amazing. He's been really good as well. I'm gonna use the word amazing a little more sparingly here, but he's looked really good as well. And
can you tell what team Suki likes, guys?
I love the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay.
But also, they need to get guys like Hoffman and Dadonov off the team. They're friggin' eyesores. Like, Hoffman doesn't even look like he tries anymore.
He never did.
Jonathan Drouin is an
never did.
eyesore.
Jonathan Drouin had an amazing pass on that Caulfield goal. What are you talking about? Did you see the goal? Did you see the pass on that Caulfield goal?
It's just funny. No, I actually see it, but it's just funny.
I don't expect much from Drouin, but like, he definitely has skill. It's just he's like had a lot of issues with stuff, and I have no idea what those issues are, but judge him. Definitely need some work on that defense, though. You get Caden Gooley and a bunch of children, and that guy that fights everyone.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually looked pretty good. But what?
People call him Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi passwords usually look like his last name.
That's hilarious. I think he's actually gonna be a decent NHLer. Like maybe like he won't be anything crazy, but he's got a hard shot, and he's a good defensively and stuff already, so be a decent defenseman. But it's going to take a while before that defense becomes something viable. Their goaltending is also questionable. Regardless, no one expects anything from Montreal, so this is just like the positive things are nice to see.
How do you feel about those nice lively new boards?
Horrible. Do you see the one where the puck was coming around the boards? There was like a fake puck coming around the boards. Then someone was skating towards it.
But I found out just yesterday, I actually realized that those boards that we see on TV are just for TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting.
I mean, if they were at the game, then I would expect reduced ticket prices, because that is disgusting. Although on TV, it looks horrible. Like there's
and if whatever stream you watch, the ads based on your market and stuff. So I mean, I'll give them. You know what? The idea is not bad. It's just the boards look strange because we're not used to it.
They do the same thing they started doing it in soccer a while ago, actually.
Yeah.
But
Like
If it-
yesterday, we were streaming the Suns game on the Boston stream,
Mhm.
and we were getting all the American ads on their boards, on the boards, and we're like, oh wow, this is
Didn't you go to the game?
no. We didn't end up going.
Oh, we'll talk about that after.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Slow start. Tampa Bay's 1-3.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like, I still expect them to make the playoffs, obviously. But they have played a lot of hockey over the past like 3 or 4 years, more than anyone else, because they made it to the finals 3 years in a row. So it's like maybe that's catching up with them a little bit.
Not only that, but haven't they had like a pretty decently tough start? Like the teams they're playing, who have they played so far?
Well, they lost to the Flyers yesterday.
Oh, okay, the Flyers, but did they also play a couple of pretty decent teams to start? Like, wasn't it not the easiest? Was it Rangers they played?
Did they play
I think did they open the season with Rangers?
Tampa Bay. I should be much better at this than I am. Schedule.
Suki's the worst.
Apparently. News. No, I need games. Yes. Okay. They played the Rangers. That was the first game. They played Columbus, who they beat, and they lost to Pittsburgh.
Okay, yeah, so not like the easiest of starts, I guess. Rangers and Pittsburgh in the first
Pittsburgh
three.
beat the Lightning. Montreal beat Pittsburgh. Therefore, Montreal is better than Pittsburgh. Wait, Montreal is better than Tampa.
Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. But yeah, anyway, that's a start. We know it's not gonna. I mean, that's not indicative.
Yeah, I mean it's
how
the
they're gonna end
equivalent
up.
of the Flyer start, but just the other direction.
The other way, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see at about the halfway through November mark where these teams are. Just that's where I think the in my opinion October games. I know everyone says like, oh, you don't want to give up too many points early and stuff, which is true and all that. Like, yeah, you don't want to have a horrible start and leave a bunch of points on the table in October. But it's just every team is just not at their true form yet, where every team ends up leaving points on the board in October, I find. So
yeah, and some teams aren't even set yet. Like,
yeah. But yeah,
off-season surgeries and stuff like that.
Exactly. Everything's a bit of a work in progress right now.
Crapshoot, as they say. Yes.
This is a part of the episode. We'd like to remind you guys that we are on multiple platforms. We are on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Sorry. So you can find us on all those platforms. So if you're listening on one of them and prefer another, you can always check us out there and be sure to let people know if you like us and share the podcast. So we appreciate the support, and we can get back to talking about hockey.
Our head-to-head today, Evan.
Is that what we're doing?
That is a great question, Omar.
Third liners.
Wouldn't it be fun if I just picked two random defensive centers?
Okay, so no one on my team.
You guys, who do you think is better? So my question to you is, who'd you rather?
Right now?
Anze Kopitar or Patrice Bergeron?
I knew it was going to be on. As soon as he said defensive center, I knew it was Bergeron and Kopitar.
Are we talking right now?
Yeah.
I think my answer is the same either way.
I know what your answer is. I also know what Evan's answer is. I think I'm the only one out in this one.
Okay, what's yours?
I'm Bergeron.
I'm Bergeron.
Well, I think we're
You
always say you find Kopitar better.
I say that, but that's just because I don't like Boston that much. But Bergeron is better.
Wait, why do you say Kopitar then?
I said Kopitar a couple of years ago, but he's fallen off a lot. So as of right now, I would say Bergeron.
So career?
Oh, career gets tough.
I
Career, I would go Kopitar.
I still go Bergeron.
Because career Kopitar has more cups. Career Kopitar has many more points. Career Kopitar is way more durable.
Many more. Can we fact check this?
Can we fact check the many more?
Bergeron just started becoming a point of game player, by the way. I hope you guys know that. But and their defense.
What do you mean
was,
by just?
like a few years ago, like since Pasternak, Marchand started becoming point game players.
All right, what are we looking at here? Bergeron versus Kopitar.
And for me, also the major thing, which I don't fault Bergeron on this, is just something that happens, is durability. Oh wow,
No, Bergeron has more points.
Bergeron has 988 points in. Bergeron has played 5 more games and he's had 988 points. In 5 less games, Kopitar has 100 more points.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing there. I
Yeah.
was like, oh wait, Bergeron has more points. No, he doesn't actually.
They've played all pretty much the same amount of games. Playoff performance wise, Kopitar has 70 points in 86 games. Bergeron has 127 and 167. Holy crap, he's played a lot of playoff games.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm still a Bergeron. As much as I hate Boston, I still gotta go Bergeron, even if the points are not on his side.
I mean, but that's like my entire argument is backed up by facts here. So, because more cups, more points, defense is almost even. Bergeron's better defensively, but Kopitar is probably second or third in the last decade, and I don't think that's that much of a difference to make up for the other things. Kopitar has also led his team in all of his cup runs and points. He had 26 points in 26 games and is in the 2014 one, and then 20 points in 20 games in the 2012 one. So I don't know.
Would you not say though? You said 100 more points, more or less, with 5 more games. So over what? That's almost 1,000 games each, 82 games a season. It's only like maybe like 5 points a season plus for each season on top of Bergeron. And then you could argue, like you said, Bergeron's better defensively. You could argue
play the
that.
same amount of games.
No, I know. I'm saying if you added 5 points to every season.
What kind of math is this? I don't understand.
You said he has 100 more points in about the same amount of games.
I have a good way to. We can just do this, okay?
Sufi, it's not that hard.
Yeah,
if they each
it isn't that hard.
We'll look at it this way, because the way you're saying it doesn't make any sense to me. 988 points divided by 1, 2, 2, 0 equals. Okay, Bergeron has 0.809 points per game, so we'll say 0.81. Kopitar, clear. He has 1073. Okay, 1073 points in 15 games equals 0.88. That is a significant enough difference to make up for the defense. Plus the extra cup, plus the durability. I'm taking Kopitar.
Well, you said that Bergeron is better defensively, which I agree with. I think that Kopitar, sure, has had X amount of points, but over that entire time, it's less than 100 points difference. And you put that over, let's say they each played like 15 seasons. It's realistically not an incredible amount of points more on each one. Boston has had a longer playoff life span than the LA Kings had with Bergeron on that team, regardless of if he was playing with Marchand and Pasternak. So you could argue that Bergeron has gotten them to that place, being him, Chara, with a rotating door of other people now to this point. He's been so consistent and such a leader that he's one of the main reasons why they've been so successful for so long.
I would say, yeah, I would say
the
thing is, I would say Bergeron is so vital to that team every year since when's the last time Boston didn't make the playoffs or they didn't do something, they weren't good. Like Bergeron has been the staple of that team. Like they're consistent. They went to 3 Stanley Cup finals, won 1. They've gone pretty decently far in the playoffs a lot of times. He's played so many playoff games. He's had amazing regular seasons. The team's just always been amazing with him.
He's had
up there. I don't know. Kopitar has had the 2 cups. And he has
the best player on those teams
and the almost 100 more points or whatever. But apart from those 2 cups, the team hasn't surrounding those 2 cup years. The team has
Oh,
not.
come on, bro.
has not always been that amazing.
LA's has had significantly worse teams on paper than Boston in the last
Yeah.
5-6 years, which is when Bergeron made all these playoff performances or playoff appearances. If we're saying the benchmark at just appearances, then like I don't know what to say. But like in terms of like
Sophie, it's all making
even Kopitar's like playoff performances has been better, and then he like the 2011 or 2012, whenever they were on 2012 to 2014 LA teams weren't that crazy. I mean, it was just him, Doughty, and Quick, and then the supporting cast was like okay.
They won.
Bergeron,
They won from 8th seed.
I know, and Bergeron's had like very good supporting cast for pretty much his entire career, minus when they missed the playoffs. So
that's so,
but I also don't think that his defensive ability is that much better to the point where it negates the fact that Kopitar is better offensively. Because Bergeron's
good.
I just don't think he's that much better offensively.
Bergeron's best offensive season.
You had Marian Gaborik. You had other really good players.
Gaborik, what the heck?
But Jeff the lead off, and then you had one of the best defense corps in the league in LA
for like that short period of time. I mean, and then like they've had really mediocre teams the last 5 or 6 years, and it isn't because of him. I mean, like Boston's pretty much been an amazing team for a very long period of time, and Kopitar is like the Bergeron's offensive like surge of points has come in the last 4 or 5 seasons with Marchand and Pastrnak. Before that, he was pretty much a 55 to 60 point player, which I correct that because I'm looking at that right now. But like a lot of the offensive side of him can be attributed to Bergeron or can be attributed to Marchand and Pastrnak. Whereas Kopitar, I mean, he was playing with Dustin Brown most of his career. So like I fully give him credit for running the offenses on those teams. And then defensively, he wasn't that much worse than Bergeron. Like he was definitely top 2, top 3 defensive centers in the league for the same amount of time. And for me, the offensive prowess and the 2 cups is what makes him better than Bergeron.
But would you not say that seeing both of them have very good offensive seasons, that Bergeron has the skill to have those seasons, but maybe he's been putting like defense first in almost every situation so that he's not cheating offensively almost ever, so that when you do put him with complementary players, he can be just a dominant player in every facet of the game.
Sure. But I don't think that Kopitar sacrifices defensively to produce the amount of offense that he did. I just think that like if you gave Kopitar even someone of the Pastrnak or Marchand caliber at some point in his career, he probably would have had even more points consistently. But he's been playing with Dustin Brown and Iafallo and all those guys for like 12 plus years, and he's been
Iafallo for 12 years.
Like those types of guys.
WHL.
Dustin Brown has been his winger for like a long time, and where Dustin Brown is a third line grinder on any other team.
Okay, so look up the LA teams. They've definitely had good offensive players alongside him.
It's not like bro. They literally had Jeff Carter, who was a second line center, so he never even played with him.
Playing with freaking Alex Burrows his entire career.
He's played with Dustin Brown his entire career, and the left wing has been pretty much rotating the entire time. Like literally in 2017,
Tyler
18,
Toffoli, Jake
Tyler Toffoli wasn't on his line either. And the 2018 season when he had 92 points, it was literally 30 more points than any other player on his team.
Okay, look up those the cup teams then.
Cup season 2012 and 2014.
I'm looking at that right now. Again, Justin Williams, Dustin Brown, Mike Richards. Bro, he had 76 points. The next player had 59 and 54 and 44. Like, and then 2014, he had 70 points again. The next highest was Jeff Carter, who again wasn't on his line, 50 points. Justin Williams, 43 points in 82 games. Mike Richards. We're talking their 6th best forward on that 6th best point player on that 2016 team was Slava Voinov.
So what I'm hearing is Kopitar, even though he led his team in points, couldn't get them to playoffs. Bergeron, even when he didn't have Pastrnak and Marchand, still got to the playoffs.
No, I'm talking. This is his cup teams, bro.
Nope.
These
Nope.
were his cup teams that
Right.
really
Right.
wanted them.
Thank you.
I win.
Thank you.
Damn. Nice.
Thank you.
Actually feels good.
Whatchamacallit? What did you say, Evan?
The thing that he said just didn't make any sense because I literally just explained in this that he literally won the cup with an extremely horrible supporting cast compared to Bergeron the cup
Like there's just a balanced offense for that team.
no, bro.
There was a balanced offense for that team. Okay, here's what I'll say. Yeah, like the players are close enough where if you say Kopitar is better, like I'm not really that bothered by saying by arguing the other way. Like sure, Kopitar is better, but what I am saying is the way you're talking about the LA King team when they won those cups is like no, they weren't just garbage.
No, they weren't garbage, but they weren't like he was the main cog of that whole thing because if you took him out, those teams aren't making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, he's
Quick out, they're not making the playoffs.
What?
If you took Jonathan Quick out, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
okay, but
yeah.
I mean, fair enough, but or not like I don't even know. Like if you take Quick out and you put
the Quick was insane back then.
I understand, but and that makes sense. It's just it's the same with Bergeron. Like if you took Bergeron and any of like the last 4 or 5 teams, I don't say Boston misses the playoffs. If you still have Marchand Pasternak, Pasternak, Krejci, Chara, Crew, McAvoy, Rask, like that team's still making the playoffs.
Last season, maybe.
Huh?
Last season, yeah, they're I guess they had 100 points, whatever. But like for them, their second line center was Eric Howla, and then it was Charlie Coyle. So if they ran a season and bar whatever other injuries, if they did not have Patrice Bergeron, I think that team.
If we're talking just 2021, if we're talking just 21-22, sure. But for literally any LA King team since Kopitar started playing, I can say that about Kopitar. The only reason that like they had any kind of success on and like won those 2 cups is largely because of him. And like it's hard to argue for me like
the reason they've made playoffs and have won a cup.
Sure, they've made playoffs, but what the hell does that even like mean? Like the only time that really does anything for me is last year.
There's something to say about making 3 finals.
Sure. Did they win?
No, not all of them.
So is Kopitar better than Ovechkin then? Because Ovechkin only makes the playoffs.
No, we're talking. But I hate it when you do this because you're putting two like we're talking about 2 players in the same caliber with the same point range and same like almost the same defensive ability as well. Like everything is very similar. So we're nitpicking stats here. Ovechkin is a far better player because he has 1,000 more goals and 1,000 more points.
Whoa. Hockey Hall of Fame would maybe take the 2 cups over.
Ovechkin did. Even if Ovechkin didn't have a cup, he'd make the Hall of Fame. So that's not even like. It's a weird argument that you're putting.
Wait, so would you be putting Bergeron over Kopitar if one more of those 3 finals turn into a cup, or at least one more, if not both?
I mean, maybe, but like for me,
so the cup is a factor for you.
Like when I'm nitpicking stats, sure, but for me, Kopitar has also had Kopitar was a bigger part of those teams that won the cup and bigger part of every LA team in the last 15 years than Bergeron has been in the last 10. Because before that, he wasn't really a factor.
I mean, you also said that the cup didn't matter when it was Rantanen and Marner, so.
Rantanen and Marner. Well, again, but that's the same thing. Like the thing with Bergeron is, again, even if he had the 2 cups and Kopitar had the 2 cups, I would still rate Kopitar's higher because Bergeron's teams have generally been better than Kopitar's by a decent amount.
Depends who you ask. If you ask Omar, I don't know.
I mean, I would say Colorado is pretty heavily favored over Toronto in that.
Toronto as a
Subi's argument for the Rantanen and Marner one was that Rantanen wasn't the biggest factor on Colorado.
Yeah, and like.
Yeah, even though he's flipping point per game.
Yeah, but that's also not like the thing is like I had a lot of things backing me up on that. Like Rantanen didn't have the best playoffs consistency wise, and sure he was point a game, but he wasn't like the biggest factor of any sort
But
in the series.
you have a lot of things backing you up. We could find stats that back our argument up regardless. So it's like
Well,
it's
no,
like when
your
you
stat is literally just
certain
points.
things. It's like when you look on Twitter for certain things and you see things that you like, you're like, oh, Donald Trump's doing good things. I'm not like saying specifically you like Donald Trump or anything. Oh, he's doing great things. And then there's other things where like, oh, Donald Trump's an awful person. It's like you're
But no,
catering things that go with your argument, obviously.
not really. Like the thing is, your argument is literally just Rantanen was point a game. But like, if every other metric and stat says that Rantanen wasn't consistent and wasn't as big of a factor as 4 or 5 other players on his team, then like I don't really know what to say.
4 or 5? I don't know. I think
Five.
9 after
Five players better than Rantanen.
Makar, McKinnon,
and then Rantanen.
Kadri.
Kadri a bigger factor than Rantanen.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So
And he was injured, and he still was.
So you're still taking the
Devin
Kadri,
Taves.
who didn't play.
Devin Taves.
wasn't Kadri out for a few games?
He was out for the back half of the Edmonton series, but they swept them. They would have swept them without anyone on that team. They would have swept them with just McKinnon and Makar and then a bunch of scrubs. Regardless. Yeah. Fried my brain here, bro.
So wait, Evan, your official vote goes to Bergeron over Kopitar?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
God.
the poise, the longevity, the being elite in multiple facets. I'm not saying Kopitar isn't, but I don't know. I just feel like Bergeron is like the guy.
Yeah, that's how I don't know, maybe that's how
Bro,
I
is that
felt
not
about it.
Kopitar in LA? Like he's literally been the guy in LA.
He's the guy. Yeah.
Oh my
He's
god.
but Kopitar is also the guy. That's the thing.
And Kopitar
They're too close. They're very close.
and Kopitar was the guy even when Drew Doughty became AHL defenseman caliber until last year for 5 years. Like there's something to be said when you're top 2 in Selke voting, like for a decade, and you're leading your team.
The other guy.
You're leading your team in points by 30 every year. With Dustin Brown and Justin Williams.
Which one of the two players would you say is more clutch?
Kopitar.
Kopitar. Really?
Why are you just thinking of game 7 or something?
No.
It's gonna-
Although that is now, now I'm thinking about that. But no, I just I feel like
I understand what like the thing is.
I feel like I
Big
have a lot
Bergeron
of
fan.
I have
I
a
like
lot of
Bergeron.
I have a lot of images in my head of him scoring some
Yeah.
massive goals.
I have 2. And Kopitar is more so plays. Like he's the one that's setting up everything.
I don't do that for Bergeron too.
Bergeron doesn't really set up plays. He's the one finishing them. On the offensive side of things.
I feel like he does
Clutch
both.
defensive plays, I think they're both pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't know too. I know Bergeron's defensive game well, but Kopitar's defensive game, I don't.
Is really good, bro. It's really underrated, man. I don't know. It's been Kopitar just makes me choke up sometimes. It's how underrated he's been throughout his career. This freaking 2018 season where he had 92 points and Dustin Brown had 61. He made Dustin Brown almost a 30-goal scorer. Look at this team. This is awful.
To the 2018 team.
Yeah.
This team didn't make the playoffs, did they? Did they make the playoffs?
All right, let's be more descriptive here.
Yeah,
This team, that team,
LA.
Los Angeles.
They did make the playoffs, and it was literally just
Bergeron wins this one just by the skin of his teeth. I think it was close. But yeah,
When's this one? Sorry.
well, I mean, as YouTube voter for Bergeron, he wins.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what I thought I heard him say Kopitar wins this one.
Yeah. Right now,
But you know what? This is one where I could easily be like, I would say he kind of persuaded me to move over to Kopitar, just because
of the stats.
of the stats itself. Because I mean, yeah, this is not one of those head to heads where I feel strongly either way. But with the stats, I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah,
I think yours is more you probably went Bergeron right off the bat based off what he's done to your team.
I guess so.
Kopitar hasn't really wronged your team at all. So you don't really watch Kopitar like that.
True.
That's like me with like saying Crosby is the best player of all time. Well, of course I'm going to say that. He's dominated my team in playoffs every freaking year, except for 2018.
Let's not say that again. We don't want any more comments, Cody.
Oh, they hated me for that. I'd love to see someone argue it, bro. Someone also raised a great point after Ovechkin's offside goal got or disallowed or whatever. Imagine they had offside review in the 80s. How many goals would Gretzky have lost?
You think he would have lost a lot?
Not enough to like lose the points record, I'm saying, but like just in general, if that existed in that era with any player, how many goals would they have lost? It would have been a pretty good amount. Someone should do the research on that.
Interesting.
Well, how many
Watch
goals would you say
circle.
Ovechkin's lost?
I mean, Ovechkin has already lost like a decent amount since it started. Thank you, Matt Duchene. But yeah, he also lost one this year, and I was very annoyed by that. And then the one that he scored against Vancouver, his second goal, it went to offside review. Literally the next game, I was very unhappy, and he almost scored it the exact same way.
Before we end it, can we talk about how bullshit that no goal call was on Toronto against Arizona the other day? What the hell was that?
Yeah, pass, bro. Come on.
No, did you see the replay?
Bro, it was a hand pass.
No, his stick was in his glove.
But it was a hand pass.
The puck hit the stick.
No, the puck hit the
The
glove.
puck hit the stick.
The puck hit the glove.
You know what? Either way, you couldn't definitively tell which one it hit, so the goal should not have been called back.
I don't have an opinion on this. I really don't care unless it's any team other than the Leafs. So
it is quite funny that happened.
yeah,
Like
I'm not
it
gonna
was like, wow, I can't believe they tied it up, and then it was like, oh, it touched Morgan Riley's hand, and then Clayton Keller's skate, and then it kept going, and it didn't count. But
Funny is
similar to Ottawa happened last year. It was like in the final minute of a game, or minute of game, I don't remember, 5 minutes, whatever it was, and the other team scored, and then Ottawa challenged for a high stick earlier in the play, and they got called back because they checked and it was above the shoulders, just barely. And it was like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing you could do, challenge for a high stick or
it's
whatever.
so funny, like the challenges have made like because it's funny, like okay, like we know hand pass is a rule, it gets called every time, and offsides, regular rule, but then it's so funny when a goal is being challenged and you look at how like oh, where was his skate, how high was it up in the air, and then a goal gets called back because of something like that, or a goal gets called back like what happened to the Leafs the other day, and you're just like, oh man, it's so weird that a goal gets called back because of something so minor like that. But but we don't, you never looked at it that way until challenges came
that
into play.
happened in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, very small. It seems like very minor, like, oh, his skate was gliding a little bit like this way, and that's why it's offside and not onside or
That
whatever.
John
Right?
Tavares goal against Washington shouldn't have counted.
Oh no, that one they checked him, or they didn't challenge it, right? Yeah, they never challenged
Well,
it.
they checked it because kickings they check anyway. But
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not bitter. I mean, realistically, I think the argument people are saying is also they should have never been in that position against Arizona.
Oh well, yes, yeah. I mean, they deserve to lose the game.
If you bet Arizona, you are a very rich man now.
Yeah, I mean, their line was like 350 or something, plus 350, which is
I think it was like I think I saw one at like 4 or something.
no. Toronto was negative 432, which is insane. But I think that's what they were against them when Benjamin Milka stood on his head last year and made like 50 saves or something, and they lost. Yeah.
Well, classic, great way to end off. So we'd like everyone for tuning in for episode 9. Hashtag Bobby Ryan. We're looking forward to making more episodes for you guys. And if you guys, on any platform want us to ask or answer, any questions that you may have, please submit it on just in the comments on YouTube, on TikTok, whatever it may be. And yeah, thanks again, guys. We really appreciate it.